3. We're just gonna finish Edward III, Act 3, Scene 3, right here in front of J.P. Licks, after getting shut off at the post office down the street. Around line 46, enter King John, Prince Charles, Duke of Normandy, Duke of Lorraine, King of Bohemia, young Prince Philip, and soldiers. Edward, know that John, the true King of France, musing thou shouldst encroach upon his land, and in thy tyrannous proceedings slay his faithful subjects and subvert his towns, spits in thy face, and in this manner following, upbraids thee with thine arrogant intrusion. First, I condemn thee for a fugitive, a thievish pirate, and a needy mate, one that hath either no abiding place, or else inhabiting some barren soil, whose neither herb nor fruitful grain is had, dost altogether live by pilfering. Next, insomuch thou hast infringed thy faith, broke league and solemn covenant made with thee, I hold thee for a false pernicious wretch. And last of all, although I scorn to cope with one so much inferior to myself, yet in respect thy thirst is all for gold, thy labor rather to be feared than loved, to satisfy thy lust in either part, here am I come, and with me have I brought exceeding store of treasure, pearl, and coin. Leave therefore now to persecute the weak, and arm in entering conflict with the armed. Let it be seen, amongst other petty thieves, how thou canst win his pillage manfully. If gall or wormwood have a pleasant taste, then is thy salutation honey sweet. But as the one hath no such property, so is the other most satirical. Yet wot not how I regard thy worthless taunts. If thou have uttered them to foil my fame, or dim the reputation of my birth, know that thy wolvish barking cannot hurt. If slyly to insinuate with the world, and with a strumpet's artificial line to paint thy vicious and deformed cause, be well assured the counterfeit will fade, and in the end thy foul defects be seen. But if thou didst it to provoke me on, as who should say I were but timorous, or coldly negligent did need a spur, bethink thyself how slack I was at sea, how since my landing I have won no towns, entered no further but upon thy coast, and there have ever securely slept. But if I have been otherwise employed, imagine, thou what, whether I intend to skirmish not for pillage, but for the crown, which thou dost wear, and that I vow to have. Or one of us shall fall into his grave. Look not for cross invectives at our hands, or railing execrations of despite. Let creeping serpents hid in hollow banks sting with their tongues. We have remorseless swords, and they shall plead for us and our affairs. Yet thus much briefly, by my father's leave, as all the immodest poison of thy throat is scandalous and most notorious lies, and our pretended quarrel is truly just, so end the battle when we meet today. May either of us prosper and prevail, or luckless cursed receive eternal shame. That needs no further question, and I know his conscience witnesseth it is my right. Therefore, voila, Valois, say, wilt thou yet resign, before the sickle's thrust into the corn, or that enkindled fury turned to flame? Edward, I know what right thou hast in France, and ere I basely will resign my crown, this champion field shall be a pool of blood, and all our prospect as a slaughterhouse. Edward III. York, or Hamlet. Thanks. I that approves thee, tyrant, what thou art. No father, king, or shepherd of thy realm, but one that tears her entrails with thy hands, and like a thirsty tiger sucks her blood. You peers of France, why do you follow him that is so prodigal to spend your lives? Whom should they follow, aged impotent, but he that is true born sovereign? Upbraidest thou him, because within his face time hath engraved deep characters of age? Know that these grave scholars of experience, like stiff-grown oaks, will stand immovable, when whirlwind quickly turns up younger trees. That was really good. Will stand immovable, when whirlwind quickly turns up younger trees. When whirlwind quickly turns up younger trees. Was ever any of thy father's house king but thyself before this present time? Edward's great lineage by the mother's side 500 years has held the scepter up. Judge then, conspirators, by this descent, which is the true-born sovereign, this or that. Father, arrange your battles, pray no more. These English fain would spend the time in words, that night approaching they might escape unfought. Lords and my loving subject, now's the time that you intended force must bide the touch. Therefore, my friends, consider this in brief. He that He that you fight for is your natural king. He against you fight a foreign. He that you fight for rules in clemency, and reigns you with a mild and gentle bit. He against you fight, if he prevail, will straight enthrone himself in tyranny, make slaves of you, and with a heavy hand curtail and curb your sweetest liberty. Then to protect your country and your king, let but the hot courage of your hearts answer the number of your able hands, and we shall quickly chase these fugitives. For what's this Edward but a belly god, a tender and lascivious wantonness, that the other day was almost dead for love? But what I pray you is his goodly guard, such as but scant them of their chines or beef, and take away their downy feather beds, and presently they are as resty stiff as twere many overridden Janes. Then, Frenchmen, scorn that such should be your lords, and rather bind ye them in captive bands. Vive le roi! God save King John the France! Now on this plain of Chris spread yourselves, and Edward, when thou darest, begin the fight. Stop there for now.